Hi, it's Jackleen. I'm here to talk to you about the full moon in Libra. It's coming up on April 12th, Saturday at 5:22 Pacific. And a full moon, as you know, is the sun and the moon are opposed to each other. And in this particular case, it's an Aries sun and a Libra moon at 22 degrees. The Sabian symbol for that is a butterfly grows a new wing, like there's a third wing. It's an adaptation to what's going on right now. It's like an evolutionary adaptation that refers to. And so, with that in mind, I want to talk about some of the things that are going on with this full moon. At first glance, I looked at it and I said, oh my gosh, this is almost too nice to be a full moon. Second glance, oh wait, we've got a couple of things here besides just the sun and moon opposition, which will cause tension. Now, that tension will be between the self and the relationship or the commitment, whether it be job, partnership, family, whatever. It's the individual versus maybe the group of friends or the obligations, the things you do or don't want to do, right? And so it's about achieving that balance, because Libra is all about balance. Libra is also about truth, beauty, justice, equality, all these wonderful things. And so anything that doesn't look like that, and we're going to have a lot of stuff. I don't need to tell you this, but this is what the chart says. We're going to have a lot of things that come up in opposition to these wonderful ideals of Libra. And they're all going to come up to sort of be wrestled with a little bit, because it is a full moon. So anything that is not justice, or maybe is not beauty, you look around your room and you say, oh, I need to clear this out. Perfect time after the full moon to clear out those things that are no longer working for you or that stand between you and those ideals. So the good thing that I see here is I looked at Mars, and Mars is usually a troublemaker. And I'm not saying it's not going to be a troublemaker, by the way, because Aries is ruled by Mars. And we also have an opposition with Mars and Pluto, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But Mars can be very cooperative in the next couple of weeks, and strange and interesting alliances will be formed in the world, in your workplace, maybe in your family, and you'll see people talking that maybe don't normally talk. You'll see factions working together that don't normally work together. You can spur some of this to happen. You can have a conversation where before maybe it was just a yelling match or a hands-off kind of situation. So there are little inroads are being made toward more peace and more cooperation. More let's all work toward a mutual end. People that didn't see eye to eye before, and maybe they're still not seeing eye to eye, but they want this or they don't want that. So you're going to see a lot of that, and there's opportunities where there wasn't an opportunity a month ago in some of these things. You may have something happening at work and you see a new way to deal with it. Uranus is the planet of change, disruption, but it's also the planet of these sudden ideas that come in. And that is very well aspected too. It's well aspected to Mars that we were just talking about, as well as these other planets that are well aspected to Mars. We're getting a lot of water and earth energies here. And so it's kind of the more flowing you can be, the more malleable, the more flexible, the better. We are still in the wake of a Mercury retrograde, okay? Depending on when you're listening to this, Mercury went direct yesterday, the 7th, and we're still in that storm period. So there's still going to be a little bit of miscommunication. Venus, which by itself, it's not a terrible retrograde, but going hand in hand with a Mercury retrograde, I know I've talked to a lot of people that have been having relationship issues, things coming back from the past. Realize that we just went through an eclipse cycle, right? This full moon is going to sort of bang that eclipse gong again and show us any residual lessons or anything that we still need to focus on. So if you know what your eclipse lessons are or were, probably still are, they're probably not completely solved. And so you'll probably get another reminder of that. That's generally what the first full moon after an eclipse does. It says, oh yeah, remember this, you're not out of the woods yet. So ask yourself, what am I not out of the woods with? What are some of the things that I still need to work on? Yes, so Mars is in really good communication with Uranus, which is again that change, making change happen, really big theme right now. Mercury, communications, again, communications with maybe people or situations where there wasn't so much communication or the communication wasn't so great. So that may open up. Spiritual channels may open up, creativity, all these wonderful things. Purpose, you may see more clearly how to achieve that next goal or intention related to your bigger purpose here. And then Saturn too, doing the things that you don't want to do. If you just do a push and you say, okay, at least for the next 20 minutes, but I've got a couple hours blocked out, I am going to focus on this. And you get to work, you can probably make a lot of headway on that. And then Venus. So there will be probably more toward the end of this 2-week cycle opportunities to smooth out things. Again, maybe even before then, but I think that the most tense part of a full moon is like we're leading up to it and during the actual full moon and a couple of days after. So we feel those tensions. I can often feel them sort of coming along, right? I can feel the full moon brewing, and I was definitely feeling that today. Yeah, try not, one of the things that happens uh, with the Libra Aries dynamic is that there's aggression, there's someone stepping out of line, and then there's the person that's like, I'm going to put everything to rights. That, I'm going to be the arbiter of justice. We don't necessarily want to do that in every possible case. You may be called on to be a mediator because you're watching this, your boss is probably not watching this, right? You're in the know about what's going on. And so I always tell people that there's a little bit of a burden to being in the know of why other people are running around with feeling like their heads are cut off, right? Like chickens with their heads cut off. So the burden is, okay, I've got to kind of, I don't have to, but I feel maybe a little bit of responsibility to be calm myself and to maybe calm others. So that would be a good that would be a good focus over the next few days. Over the next couple of weeks following a full moon, we get rid of things. We declutter with the aim of, like, if you look around your room and you say, "Ooh, I really want this wall to be a beautiful color." It is kind of dingy, isn't it? I think that's one of my projects here. But first thing I have to do is clean, right, and get rid of things, and you know get the walls cleared so I can do that. So think in terms of, well, what I really want to do, what would really, speaking of cleaning, and a wonderful book that many of you may have read about the magic of tidying up. If it doesn't spark joy, or if it isn't of use to you, um, get it out of there. Think of the joy. Think of the joy you'll have when your office is cleared. I'm totally talking to myself right now because this has been an ongoing goal, and every full moon I'm like, this is it. I'm gonna do it. And every full moon it turns out to be something else. But this time I'm gonna do it. All right, so clear, clean, release, evaluate everything in your life and say, is this really serving me? Relationships, commitments that you've made, everything. What is this really giving me what I intended to give me? And is this contributing to my purpose for being here? So tying everything back to that, all the work that you put out, is this taking me where I want to go? So that's one of the questions to be asking around this time. But it really is, forgot about that other opposition. I almost got out of here without talking about that opposition. And I did this when I was doing a little video about the week for my Patreon people. I kind of conveniently glossed over the fact that we have a Mars-Pluto opposition. So that's you and the boss fighting it out. You don't want that. Or maybe you do, but if you do, structure it so that you can both win. And if that's not possible, it's kind of like that saying, if you come for the king or the queen, don't miss, right? So have it all laid out, know exactly what your points are, that kind of thing. So there is a struggle between people of varying power degrees, I would say. And it's not a foregone conclusion that the most powerful will win. So that's the other side, because it's kind of like that David and Goliath story, right? The Mars being the smaller, less powerful, and the Pluto being sort of the giant. And so there's the struggle, but you have to really use some of these other alliances that Mars has. Probably, I'm talking to you. I'm not talking to you because you're the boss. If I am, great, that's wonderful. But I'm probably talking to you that you're the one that needs to do something about this imbalance of power, or what you see as an abuse or a difficulty in the workplace. Call on your alliances. Um, Draw up your plan. We've got Saturn well aspected with Mars. Just do all the things. Do your due diligence before you make the major waves. But then make them, because Uranus is there, and it's meant to, shake things up a little bit, but make sure you're standing on steady ground. Let's put it that way. Make sure you know what your objective is. So overall, it does look like a positive full moon. Good things are going to happen. Some not so great things will happen too. I think we're going to see some winds of change in the world, and the way we're perceiving the situation in this moment may not be the way we're perceiving, whether that be the political, economic, for example, situation that we're seeing in a couple of weeks. So that the change is favored, and it looks like good change. I mean, I see things day in and day out that don't look like good change, but if we focus on the things that are good and get behind the people that are doing those things, and further, our own goals and how we want the world to be by helping those people, or working with, again, those strange alliances, doing those things that maybe get us out of the comfort zone again, that's going to be very helpful during this 2-week period. I'm trying to see if there's anything that I've left out or not saying. Well, there's conjunctions. Talking about, because Mercury is where it is, right next to that North Node, and between the North Node and Neptune, which I've talked about before, it's speaking about what you do and what you're passionate about. With that passion, and enrolling people in your vision can be achieved right now. So that's a really good thing. And you can do, because the North Node is so close to Saturn right now. And again, these are slower. This one is a slower moving one. So I've mentioned this before, but you can do the hard work that is required for you to do the big dream, right? The things that you've been putting off, somehow find a way to tie them to what's really important to you. I think that's going to be helpful too. And yes, use that restraint whenever you need to. Is this war, is this battle worth fighting? If not, slow down, let the rude driver go in front of you, whatever. I'm talking to myself. There's a little something like that happened today, and I was like, I'm just going to let that person go, rather than trying to be the arbiter of justice here. So we don't always have to be the arbiter of justice, particularly those of us that have the justice complex. And I might be talking to a couple of you. So that's Libra moon for you. It really wants the best for everyone. It wants it to be fair. It wants it to be balanced. And that's really nice. That's a really nice quality to have. It wants everyone to be enjoying themselves at the party. So think of that small party with close friends, and have some enjoyment, have some fun, and don't take too much of it personally if people are not as centered as you are, because you're watching this and they're not. Okay. Well, I'll see you next time. All right. Bye-bye.